Once upon a time lived a young girl who lived with her parents. One day her parents told her to take some food to her grandmother's house. She didn't mind the task, she just didn't really like the thought of walking through the biggest and roughest of estates. She began her journey quickly and cautiously, looking over her shoulder every now and then. 5 minutes into the journey, she bumped into a dark hooded figure. He questioned her, asking her where she was going. He seemed harmless, so she told him what he wanted to know. He smirked as she bade him goodbye. His dark eyes followed her. She carried on with her journey, but something wasn't right. She felt as like she was being watched, unaware of what was lurking in the shadows. She shrugged off the feeling and carried on her way. In no time she got to her grandmother's. It was eerily quiet inside. Her grandmother was bedridden, so she did not come to greet her when she arrived. As quiet as she could be, she began to put down the food. She heard the sound. She tiptoed through the hallway. All she could do was listen. She heard a low growl. Was it a burglar or something else? Hansel and Gretel were normal teenagers. They went to school, spent too much time on their phones, and they liked to try new things. Walking through the streets, they came across a scent, a smell like no other. They followed the scent until they came across a dark hooded man. They approached him. They decided to go out on a whim and trust him. Eager to try new things, they handed over the money. Hansel asked, "Is it safe?" The wolf just sniggered and agreed. Down the path they went after all their money was spent. They walked to the quietest, safest place they could find. They took the first hit, coughing as they went, but as the effects started to kick in, they giggled and joked about mundane things. Suddenly a rush of sickness overwhelmed them. Their skin turned pale, chalky colour. They didn't really feel that well at all. They were foolish enough to be taken in by a wolf in hooded clothing. Everyone has their imperfections and their doubts. Even Beauty did. Beauty ventured out in search for her only desire. She didn't care how she acquired it, but in no time she found her poison. She set up her venom, eager to feel invincible again. The needle pierced her skin. Her mind far from the world, she began to drift, her eyelids feeling heavier and heavier. Unbeknown to the world around her, she fell into a deep slumber, unable to be woken, to dream forever. Snow White was the fairest of them all. With pale skin and dark hair, she stood out from the rest. The hooded man stared hungrily at her as she laughed and joked with her friend. She caught him staring and asked him to make a drink. He had struck gold. He took his chance and hastily took a glass and set out to the kitchen. He poured her drink and then cautiously added an extra ingredient. It fizzed and then disappeared. He heard someone's footsteps coming towards him. It was Snow White. She took a drink from him. The man smirked at every mouthful she took. Her perception changed with every sip. Her vision was blurry, she started to slur. The wolf watched as she began to drift off. He paced to the door and glances round the corner to make sure no one would come in. He slyly locked the door, eager to satisfy the hunger within him. From all the stories told, you should all know to never trust the big bad wolf.